This is the DRS train.
There's a pigeon on my windowsill that just turned into an eagle. I'm Peter Brook. I'm joined by Nav F1 and Nedzo's F1 Gridbox, and you're listening to the DRS Train podcast. So the United States Grand Prix has come and gone. Not the most exciting of weekends necessarily for on-race action, but very exciting in terms of the championship, because it seems that now we actually have a fight again. McLaren are crumbling, Max is at the peak of its powers, and this is really intensified things for these final 5 races, I feel.
Yeah, hi Peter, and yeah, I've been very cynical about the Max situation because I've believed since the Zandvoort win that there was absolutely no chance he would be able to make up the places and the points, because I followed Alonso in 2012 and I believe that you cannot get good things in life. When a driver performs in a car that shouldn't win, he simply will not win. And yeah, I think that we might be getting it because Alonso was up against Vettel and Red Bull, and Verstappen is up against 2 papaya pigeons who don't know what they're doing.
I mean, I've seen people saying on social media that if Max does go on a generational run towards the end of the season, even if the 2 McLarens finish second and third in every race, he can still get very close. And there are people saying online, what if he didn't have that cataclysmic explosion in Spain where he went mad and lost a potential podium or a 5th place or whatever it was from his own anger and temper. But also, if you think about it, remember when he got taken out by Antonelli in Austria? That could have easily been some good points as well. Like it is.
Where did he start?
In Austria?
Do you remember where he started?
He's got to be at least top 5. In that
I think
race.
he was 4th or 5th in that race, but he wasn't looking like he was going to win it anyway.
But it would have still got like a 4th or 5th place. He's lost about 10, 20, maybe 10 or 15 points due to factors outside of his control. Obviously, it's a bit less than Norris and maybe slightly equal to Piastri. But yeah, what's getting me in this is just how much McLaren have crumbled in the last couple of races. It's not necessarily just the fact that Max is now winning and coming second every race. It's the fact that McLaren, instead of finishing second and third right behind him, are finishing 5th. I mean, Norris was second, but Piastri's nowhere. All season I've been saying that of the 2 McLaren drivers, Piastri deserves it more because he's the one that hasn't made mistakes and he's the one that's actually kept pace most of the time. But now him and Norris are both equally bad. And one weekend, one of them will do a terrible job, and then the other weekend, the other one will do a terrible job. It's crazy.
I mean, it's in terms of the points gap as well, because he was only a few races ago, he was more than 100 points behind Piastri, and it's now less than half of that. I think if anyone can do it, Max can, to be honest, because I looked at previous seasons. I mean, Kimi in 2007, if you use the modern point system, the biggest gap he had to Lewis was 56 points after Indianapolis, and that was less than halfway through the season. And so he was it was around 30, 40 points behind. And I think Vettel in 2012, I think at one point he was about 40 points behind Fernando as well, maybe after Valencia. And there was a similar thing in 2010. He closed the gap enormously in the last 4 races. But that's going up against Lewis and Alonso and people like that. This is against Lando and Oscar. So it really isn't that difficult. I'm kind of convinced he's going to do it now, even though I'm petrified that there's going to be some kind of engine failure, or one of the McLarens is going to crash into him instead of their teammate like they're supposed to. Also, and that's just going to screw it up. But he's kind of it's weird.
There's one variant that I think a lot of people are omitting, even though he's right there in front of us. Even though I can see why we forget him, because no one ever remembers his results, and that's George Russell. Because I am sure that one of the last 5 races, Russell is going to win, and that's going to mess up Max's aspirations big time. He already won in Singapore, which was a big dent into Max's aspirations. And I feel like everyone is assuming it's going to be Max or the McLarens winning, when every time this season when Russell has had the opportunity, he's been up there. So yeah, before everyone just thinks Max can win the last 5 races, I think we need to remember it's not just those 3 who can win races. It's not a 1997, 96 situation.
I mean, it doesn't necessarily. He doesn't necessarily have to win every race. He just needs to beat the McLarens. I mean, in terms of points, because he's 40 points behind Oscar and 26 points behind Lando. So he needs 8 points per weekend on Oscar and 5.2 per weekend on Norris. So in other words, if he did win every race, he'd get the championship if Lando was second and Piastri third in every race, or maybe it's the other way around now because there was a big shift.
It's not even in every race. It only requires Oscar to be third in like 2 of those races.
Yeah, and also that's also not factoring in the sprint races as well, because there's still 2 more of those to go as well.
Exactly, and the thing is, a lot of people when they're doing the calculations at the moment, they're taking into account Max first, Oscar P2, and we're going to address this in a few seconds. The tide has turned at McLaren, and I really feel like Oscar is starting to struggle. Lando is, and we need to say this, Lando is faster than Oscar at the moment. It's not saying much, but for the last few races, Lando is just directly beating Oscar. There's no excuses.
I mean, he's still not doing brilliantly, but he's doing better than he was in terms of the pace. The pace still isn't there, but this creates another dilemma for McLaren, because they've been raving for ages about their bloody papaya rules, whatever that means, and everything. Is that eventually, like within the next 2 races, they're going to have to say, okay, one of you is going to go for the title and the other one is going to help you with that. Because otherwise, it's just going to be 1986 all over again, and they're going to keep taking points off one another, and it's going to go to Max. So that they're going to have to make that decision.
That's why I'm not sure. Do you think McLaren cares much about the drivers now? Because they've won the constructors. You would think they want one of the drivers to win, but do you think in that situation, knowing McLaren, they will actually do that? Because I feel like they might just be keeping their current system, and if they lose the title, they just be like, "Oh, at least we were fair," and shit like that. What do you think?
Hard to say, because the teams always care more about the constructors than the drivers' title. Yeah. I don't think they would want. I think they realise with the car we've got, and considering how early we won the constructors, we can't possibly then lose the drivers' title off of this. But it is kind of self-inflicted, because their rules around fairness are so weird, and people can see that their version of fairness is basically just favouring Lando, and that's the way Oscar sees it too. And I feel like, and particularly because the momentum is in Lando's favour, if they do have to pick one of them, it's going to be Lando in the next couple of races, and he's the one who's going to make the push, because it's not. I mean, he's only 14 points behind, and again, people are going to be raving about that engine failure in Zandvoort for ages, because without that, he'd be 4 points ahead of Piastri now in the championship, and it would make Max's campaign even harder. So it's so hard to say. I get the feeling, if it just really deteriorates, and if both of them lose the title, maybe one of them might leave, and one of them, being Piastri, might try his chances somewhere, a different team. I don't know.
The crazy thing about this whole papaya rules thing is that papaya rules is not some like elaborate, constructive, great thing. It's just don't crash into each other, and yet they've crashed into each other multiple times, and one of them's crashed into the other multiple times. If we include stuff like Canada, it clearly doesn't work. Like, I think in the last couple of races, they either got to go full gloves off, like just do whatever you can to survive, and whatever happens, and one of you might win the title. Or they, as you said, they need to sacrifice one driver for the other. But I don't think they'll do that. I think they will be naive enough to think that Max is going to drop points or that they'll just find their form again, either Oscar or Lando. And I mean, at this rate, it's going to be Lando because he's slowly gaining on Oscar. He's like, I think you said there, he's 14 points behind or something like that. Which is, again, all he needs to do is, even if he is finishing second behind Max, all he needs to do is finish second when Oscar's third, and he can gain that gap back in 5 races. So, yeah, it's not a good position that McLaren are in right now. I mean, we shouldn't be saying this, but it is literally, we have 1996 at home. We have Rothman's era Williams at home.
It's what we're going to get this year is basically.
What do you say?
So just quickly, I think it's going to be awkward because I feel like they're going to finally prioritize a driver with 2 races to go. And it's going to be something like, Lando, who's about to overtake Oscar in the standings. And I'm sure, knowing how the season has gone, just the race where they make that announcement, the other driver is going to win. And it's going to become even more of a mess. I can guarantee you the guy who's not meant to win is going to win it at the race where they make an announcement. And it's like, yeah, it's going to be a mess. There's no solution. That's the thing. Unless they make a decision like today and they make an announcement on social media, like literally a Twitter post saying, we are going to favor Oscar now. There's not going to be a solution. They're going to have to hope that Max messes up somewhere, which doesn't happen.
I mean, I think what we're basically going to get now is 1996 if there was justice. Well, basically 1996, but more or less unaffected by reliability. Because again, with McLaren, with both the team and the fandom, they're getting the reason that there's all this tension and they're getting a bit of a healthy dose of reality is that reliability is a thing, as rare as it happens now, as we saw with Lando. But also, like, it's just that drivers aren't meant to be best friends and get everything equal all the time. They're fighting for a championship, and they know that because this is a transitional year with new rules coming in, there's no guarantee the car's going to be any good next year. So this might be the only chance they get. So they're not just going to be besties all about it. But it's changed. I can't believe how much my own mentality has changed because all year it was like, okay, yeah, it's going to be Piastri because Lando's being useless and Piastri's being super consistent and killing it. And it's like, okay, we're going to have a new champion. That's cool. And in the past 3 races, it's like Max has just come in like a freight train. When mid-season around Hungary and around Austria, you could tell that mentally he'd just given up and his body language and everything else that he knew it wasn't happening. And suddenly it's happening. And it's injected some really much needed energy into this season.
To be honest, what I hope for the remaining races is that whatever happens, I hope that Norris doesn't finish within 18 points of the championship, the eventual championship winner, whether it's Piastri or Verstappen, because you just know the discourse over this season is just going to turn into discourse like it is for the 2016 season. People saying, "Oh, Norris lost the season due to reliability," ignoring all of his personal errors that also cost him. Like it was the same with Hamilton in 2016. Hamilton lost the head-to-head to Rosberg and had less points lost due to reliability from Rosberg. Yet people still say he lost the season due to reliability. Like, no, he didn't.
I mean, in this case, it's a little bit more clear because, well, Oscar hasn't had any mechanical failures in races. I think that people have listed there's been things like Miami and apparently other fields where he's had kind of gremlins in practice or qualifying, but nothing that's really altered results. Whereas in this case, it's like, okay, it's been one retirement, and that's the thing is because reliability problems are so rare now, they have become more impactful. When prior to 2015, basically every title challenge was decided on reliability more than anything else. Yeah, if we get to the race weekend itself, so it was a sprint weekend, so we had the sprint on Saturday. Yeah, we need to talk about that separately. I mean, you just couldn't write this, like having both McLarens taken out, like Hungary 2021 style. And at that point, I was like, okay, now it's game on, because that's 8 points already, 8 points basically for free, because we haven't even got to the main race itself. But like Zach Brown got in a lot of trouble. I love the way that like Glenn Freeman at the race ripped into him because he immediately blamed Hülkenberg. And it's like, I don't know if you can necessarily blame anyone over each other. It is kind of a racing incident, but then Piastri's turning in a lot, trying to get in the inside of thingy. And then Hülkenberg's just there. Tsunoda made a gigantic lunge at turn 1 and it paid off because Hülkenberg crashed before him and he gained 11 places. another classic example of Alonso having an awesome start and then getting taken out. Because if that hadn't happened, he would have finished second or third in that race or something as well.
So before giving it to Nedzo, because we're obviously mostly going to talk about McLaren here, that Alonso crash, and I saw it. The number of flashbacks I got. I mean, Singapore 2017. Everyone knows it for the two Ferraris crashing into each other with Verstappen. Alonso had, and God knows Alonso has had incredible starts. I always say that a lot of those starts are a bit, well, they get complemented by the fact that there was a launch control with the Renaults, and then at Ferrari, he was very good with the curse system. The start in 2017 at Singapore was just actual good reactions, actual good traction. There's no aids, anything. It just actually went well. He was minding his business on the outside. He would have been third and therefore second when Vettel crashed in that 2017 McLaren, which maybe was worse than the 2015 McLaren, by the way. And there's just like three cars that just pile into him and lift him up. And when this one happened, it was even worse because at least in Singapore, okay, three cars take you out, sure. This one, he was taken out by the recoil of Hülkenberg hitting the McLarens. He took the inside line and he had said on Spanish TV, by the way, he plans on taking the safe trajectory. He didn't say what he would do, obviously, but that meant the inside line, because outside line is usually the faster start when there's a wide turn one. But obviously, you are prone to getting crashed into. He took the inside line on purpose, which is very rare for Alonso. And he gets the recoil from Hülkenberg, which just like clips his, I think, rear right, and it puts him out of it. And I was like, this was the easiest podium he would have ever gotten in a season where it's gone so badly for him. He posted on social media afterwards, like, the luck this year has flatlined. And the thing is, people can say what they want on Alonso's luck. Sometimes it's he causes his bad luck. Sometimes he has a say in it. This one was just crap. It was just really stupid. And also on as we transition to the McLaren issue, Romain Grosjean, he was the co-commentator on Canal Plus this weekend. This man somehow blamed Lando for all of this. Again, I am very quick to blame Lando for like incidents and mistakes and racecraft. As we're looking at Hülkenberg's onboard and then Lando's onboard, Romain somehow says that Lando was never making that corner. As we see Lando having already made the corner, having already turned. So, yeah, Grosjean refused to admit it was his fault. He just said it was Lando's fault somehow. And the last thing is Piastri. I'm not sure he should have gone for the switchback. You don't do that at turn one.
Two things I've got here. So I think I am also leaning towards a racing incident. If I'm going to put any blame on anyone, it's on Hülkenberg for not fully hitting the apex, and therefore there was kind of contact there. Also, on your Grosjean point, there was another piece of commentary I think over the weekend, a soundbite, where I think one of his this might be slightly misquoted because I only saw it on social media, where one of his when they were talking about, it must have been during practice or something, they were talking about how the cars work in terms of when you have a crash and when the G forces are logged. As they say, I think his co-commentator said, no, he said, oh, if you get an impact measured over, I think he said 21 G, then they send some sort of signal. And then his co-commentator chimed in and said
12 or 14 G. Yeah, it's 12 or 14 G. And then the main commentator said, yeah, well, all of your crashes are always 50 G plus. So yeah.
That was quite funny.
I love with Grosjean on co-commentary. It's like he gets flamed all the time, and he loves it because he now has this weird kink of reminding everyone that he was in this fireball crash and he was in big crashes. And he did a lot of banditry this weekend with Gunther. And again, obviously they're friends, but it's kind of awkward when you know that Gunther was so tired with Grosjean so many times in the season. And then Gunther's like, oh yeah, one of my favorite drivers. I loved working with him. It's like, did you? Were you sure?
Wait, does Gunther speak French as well?
Gunther does not. So there's this like weird translator in his ear as he speaks. But literally when you say, bonjour Gunther, merci d'être là avec nous, which is just, hi Gunther, thanks for being here. He waits 10 seconds and I'm like, okay, can you please understand that all we've done is welcome you? And it's just like, bonjour Gunther, merci d'être là avec nous. And you wait 5 seconds. No, thanks. But yeah, what did you think about Hülkenberg's start, Peter?
Yeah, well, it was just he was kind of left with nowhere to go. I mean, I was astonished that he qualified fourth anyway. I mean, I was just like, where did that come from? Because that's also in the qualifying championship. That's the first points he's ever got as well. Like he's not, because he's never made Q3 in actual qualifying.
At all.
This season, yeah, he's had a couple of P11s, but like
That's bad.
Yeah, obviously he did squander this because that he could have, if it had been a normal start and he finished fourth, that's 5 points for Sauber and everything. Yeah, I don't think he necessarily. I think it was just this is why the turn one is so good, because it's so tight and it's such a blind apex. You can't. Everyone just congregates at that apex, and you're always going to get action and everything. But it's yeah, I mean, it's the way. I mean, Zach Brown blaming him. Like I mentioned before, Glenn Freeman. I found the quote here, kind of ripping into Zach for that, when he said, F1 drivers regularly complain that their messages over the radio are taken out of context because they are speaking in the heat of the moment from the cockpit. I really hope that once Zach Brown comes down off the pit wall and has a chance to take a breather, he revises his view on that accident and the comments he made about any non-McLaren drivers who were involved. If his criticism of other drivers was just something said in the heat of the moment after a disaster for his two drivers, so be it. But if he doubles down on it in the cold light of day, then that is really poor. Other drivers, whichever team they are racing for, have a right to be on track with your precious little papaya princes. I mean, that's great to hear from like an...
I'm loving all the alliterations with papaya since this McLaren thing has started. I've seen papaya pigeons, papaya princesses.
Some people want if princess was a typo, it was meant to say papaya princess as well. It's like, which one? Yeah. But obviously, the team are always naturally going to defend their driver first. But like the thing as well is with him, he's the CEO. He's not the team principal. Like every other team, we never hear anything from the CEOs. They're not turning up to every race and bear hugging the drivers and whatnot.
Can you imagine if Lawrence Stroll was doing the interviews?
Yeah, I mean, well, they'd be the most boring thing. I mean, yeah, they'd be the perfect sleeping pills, to be honest. Or like Gene Haas doesn't even bother turning up to races anymore. He doesn't care what Haas do. And I mean, Dietrich Mateschitz, when he was alive, he'd turn up when it was like the title decider, but otherwise he didn't care. I don't even know who this. Yeah, or Austria. I don't even know who the like is De Montezemolo still the CEO of Ferrari? Like I can't remember who the CEOs of the other teams are. John Elkann, okay, but like the others, I can't even remember who the CEOs actually are for a lot of the teams.
Isn't Mercedes' CEO like violently German? He has a violently German name. I mean, obviously Toto is. I think he owns most of the team now or something.
Toto's got some other chief operating something, I don't know. In the same way that the Flav is the CEO of Alpine, as well as the team principal. Yeah, but then he seems to be staying quiet for now, which is probably good because there's not much to talk about much good to talk about with them. God knows with Sauber and the others. I don't know who runs them.
But yeah, that's not another thing that we should notice. Sainz literally did nothing and went from P7 to P3 because the 4 cars ahead of him left. So it's funny, during the interviews, they were like, what have you been doing differently? And he just said, nothing, I turned, and the others like didn't. He made 4 positions. Well,
yeah, it's the same as Ocon in Hungary. He wasn't one of the ones that got hit, so he just gets to go through and sweep into P2. That's just how it goes sometimes, yeah. But yeah, that obviously huge. I mean, to take both McLarens out, it's like, this is beautiful. At that point, I was like, okay, now it's on, because that's a free 8 points for Max. And then I don't think that is the first time we've had a safety car in a sprint race, probably not, but that took a lot of it. And then nothing else really happened until the end. Well, George did that massive dive bomb on Max, and then we had Stroll just coming in like a wrecking ball on Ocon near the end as well for like P15 or something.
That was insane.
Yeah,
that was for P14. Why? It's the fact he was so far behind as well. Like, sure, turn 1 Austin is good for dive bombs. I'm not even sure if that's true because you're going up, so it's not really a dive bomb. It's like a jump bomb.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
it makes them shorter, is what you're trying to say.
Yeah, exactly. It doesn't really make sense. But it was for P14. He was going into the turn. I think it was like 20 meters behind Ocon. It's just like, why?
The worst part is, if he was half a car length further along, he would have actually been in the right because he was technically ahead of the apex.
Yeah, I mean, also the thing is, if we use the IndyCar point system, it would probably actually make sense to be making moves like that because it would actually count for something. But otherwise, it's like it doesn't matter if you're outside the top 10 with all these things, especially in a fucking sprint race. So actually, it needs to be top 8 as well, because a lot of the drivers they don't like. You can see they were all on used tires for that and for sprint quali and stuff because it's like, well, it's a test session unless you're near the front because it doesn't really matter. Which is why, and this is something I've been doing myself, is I think to give the sprint, they should have a separate sprint championship, like the sprint trophy, similar to the Jim Clark trophy in 1987, where the points you get, they count towards the main championship so that you actually do it properly. But there's also a separate championship just for sprints, and at the end of the year, you get a trophy or a medal if you've won it. I mean, Max would win it every year.
Can you imagine if some midfield teams just focused on that? Like,
yeah,
I mean, decided to just focus on sprints.
The thing is, if they did that and there was like a small cash prize for the winning team or winning driver, it's like that would give them an incentive to actually take it more seriously. And I can't believe they haven't thought of this yet. Because when
Maybe
they first did,
like testing time or more wind tunnel time,
something like that. Because when they first did it, it was 3 points. Only the top 3 got points, and it was like this is so inconsequential that it just doesn't matter. Although to be honest, actually, if we hadn't had the sprints. No, I think Max still would have won the title in 21, but by like 2 points or something. It just that would give it a bit more legitimacy because otherwise, the fact that the qualifying is separate as well, it's like, what is the point of this in a lot of ways, other than just kind of mindless racing action? Even though most of the sprints aren't any good. But yeah, if we had that sprint trophy, it would have been won every year since 2021 by Max. Yeah.
This is something I've been saying for a long time, where the point system nowadays is outdated. Because like for like the first 50 years of F1 history, we had 6 drivers get points, but that was fine because for the most part of that, you did genuinely have races where only 6 drivers or less finished due to reliability, so that's okay. Obviously, once reliability started improving,
due to reliability or deaths.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then once reliability started improving, they started improving it. But like they changed it so that in 8 years, 4 more drivers got points. Yet in the last 15 years, when arguably reliability between 2002 and 2010 did not improve as much as it has between 2010 and now. I think we should increase. They're not going to do it because it'd be too big of a jump. But they should increase it so the top 15 get points in the main race.
Top 12. Top 12 would be fine, I think.
But
reliability, again, it's only since 2022 that it's suddenly gotten amazing. That's the thing. Because this year is the best year for... Currently, the finishing rate is about 90% this year, so that's the best we've ever had, considering that 1986 is 40%. It shows the difference. It's unreal. Like when I was doing my 80s drivers, the amount of drivers that would go whole seasons without ever seeing the checkered flag was just unreal. And like Ozella, they were in Formula One for 10 years and they scored points once as well.
Really? Once?
I think it was only once. It was Dallas. No. It was Pierre, or maybe there was more than once. I think their first points ever. It was Piercarlo Ginzani. It was Dallas, 1984. He finished 5th or 6th. I'm not sure if they ever scored points again after that. But that's a smaller side. But yeah, I think they do need to, because again, reliability.
Well, it's going to be annoying because there's going to be 11 teams. Still, only the top 10 is going to score points. And the thing is, that kind of worked with Mana because it was Mana, and until 2016, they weren't really a variant for getting points. Cadillac, they should be competing for points, and that's where it becomes a bit of an issue, because if you have a competent second driver for Red Bull and you still have like 4 teams that are at the top, you're only gonna have P9 and P10 for points for any other driver, because all these years since 21, well, not 21, since 22, the only reason P8, 9 and 10 are up for grabs is because of Sergio and before that Gasly and all. Now it might become an issue. I do not know how people are going to maintain interest when you only get rewarded in the midfield for 2 or 1 points.
Yeah, because back in the 80s, having points for the top 6, it worked. Because even if you had a field of 26 cars, on average, about 10 cars would finish a race. And so 6 of those 10 would get points. And it's like, well, that's reasonable. So in this case, 12 of the 20 finishers, and if it's maybe, say, 18 finishers, that's 2/3 of them get points. That's fair enough. But this time it's less than half of them a lot of the time, if there's not going to be any retirements or whatever. Because it was already a bit of an issue like early 2010s with Lotus version and HRT, because you had 24 cars and only the top 10 got points, and there was still reliability was still an issue. And it sort of worked because there was like Brazil 2012, literally the last race of that season, Caterham got a P11, and then Marussia eventually got
HRT/Virgin's best ever finish.
HRT was P13, Canada 2011. Virgin was P12, Brazil 2012, in that 3-season run. But then Marussia, they got points with Bianchi and then with Wehrlein as well, when it was a 22-car grid. But Caterham never got
Bianchi
anything.
And who?
Wehrlein.
Just wanted to.
Austria, yeah, 2016.
Yeah, good driver.
Yeah, but yeah, so that just about worked because reliability still was a problem. Whereas now it's like, if it's going to be if each driver is going to average one mechanical failure per season, they do need to make it a bit fairer, or just throw in the IndyCar system, which it has its own problems, but it's also kind of cool at the same time.
I prefer the NASCAR system with a couple of adjustments, but not the playoffs and all that sort of stuff. But NASCAR, they literally go. They go first place gets 40 points, 40th place gets 1 point. It just goes down 1 point each time.
Yeah, I mean they do. Obviously, I think you need a bit of a spread, which is what IndyCar does, because otherwise you're not really rewarding race wins.
I'd say 25 points for first, 22 points for second, 19 points for third, and then just go all the way down 18 for fourth.
Or they do it based on distance, because there was that joke. It was Jerez 1986 that because Mansell and Senna were like 1,000th of a second apart, that Mansell was like, well, they should give us 5 points each or something. That maybe it's like, well, if you win a race, but the guy is like 1 second behind, you get 25 points, he gets 24. Some kind of scale of time.
Dynamic point system that won't be
dynamic points. Oh god, yeah, that would be funny. If we use the IndyCar point system at the moment, Max will be 49 points behind Oscar, so he'd be just within a race win. Of course, that would probably be actually quite hard to do, because even if he won every race with Oscar second in the IndyCar system, he'd win the title by 1 point, not including laps led and pole and stuff like that. It's all a bit confusing.
For next year, for example, there's no way to me that Mercedes, Ferrari, Red Bull are not going to be competing at some extent. McLaren should be up there until unless they have generally not given a single fuck about next season. So that's already 4 teams. If you assume that Aston Martin are meant to be good, or that Audi have actually invested in Sauber, or that Cadillac are actually working, you can very, very easily end up with 5 teams clogging the 10 spots, and you're not going to get any retirements. I remember at the start of 23, I was very pessimistic about the future of Formula One, because for 4 races in a row, the exact same 5 teams had gotten the 10 spots, and you don't want that, because if you get that, all the incentives for the lower midfield and the backmarkers leave, and that's very
bad. I mean, in 2022, Lando was the only driver outside the top 3 teams to get a podium all year. You get things like that. The imbalance is huge. But next year, the thing is, reliability is probably going to be worse next year, because it's a new generation of car, and also with this active aero stuff, I have no doubts that we're going to see several enormous accidents from wings stalling and not doing what they're supposed to do, and that sort of thing. So I think, it will play more of a factor.
Well, I think we do need to get into the rest of the teams shortly, but I will just quickly add on to your point about the new active aero. What I don't get about this, because DRS over the past couple of seasons, like obviously in 2011, it was a godsend on some circuits where it actually made passing possible, and sometimes it was too powerful, but most of the time it could do something for the race. However, in the past couple of seasons, because of the aerodynamic efficiency of the Formula One cars, it means that when you're following someone at most circuits, you haven't got the pocket of air that you get that gives you the slipstream. It isn't as effective. Like, that's why you don't see overtaking at Monza. And now, because we got this active aero that gives that gives both drivers, not just the car in front but the car behind, better aerodynamic efficiency, you aren't going to be able to overtake on the straights. You just aren't going to be able to. I think that it's going to make it worse. I think it's going to make it worse for passing.
We'll go back to the 60s where people just take the wings off at Monza.
Yes.
And then crash and die, and yeah.
Anyway, do you want to get into the rest of the teams because we're like
maybe the race. So race itself wasn't as interesting as the sprint. I mean, there wasn't, but it was okay. But yeah, winning team Red Bull. So Max, one of the best weekends of his career, absolutely killed it. He almost got the Grand Slam, didn't get the fastest lap, but otherwise he was controlling. He controlled the race from the front. It was back to 2023 form, and Tsunoda, fair play. Probably maybe his best weekend of the year, even though he finished P7 almost a minute behind. But as we said, that was that obscene lunge in the sprint. He gained 11 places, and then he was making moves in the opening laps of the race, and he got himself up to P7. So he had overall
the 3 places at the start.
Yeah, 3 places at the start. So I mean, this has probably been Red Bull's best weekend of the year, I'd say.
Although
there's one thing on Yuki before you go, Nedzo. It's that, yes, it means he did well, but it also means that we need to now understand that Red Bull has properly improved. Because there's no way Yuki has suddenly remembered how to drive and finish P7. I'm not as harsh as some other critics who say Yuki has always been this terrible driver who does not deserve to win F1. I think he's fine in F1. You need not every driver in F1 is going to be in the top 10 drivers on the grid. You need your 15th and 16th and 17th. He's somewhere there. But if he's finishing 7th on pure pace without any complaints, any issues, that means that Red Bull are improving big time and McLaren have to be scared. Because in a season where a lot of people have stopped developing the cars, Ferrari stopped in June and Vasseur has been complaining. Red Bull are not, and they are going for the title big time.
So with Tsunoda, I think there's two options here. Either the cars become more drivable, which I don't think is the case. They wouldn't do that this late into the season, or it has just become faster, and that's why Max is able to win races and Yuki is able to get P7s instead of P17s. Whether it's on pole the McLaren, whether it's slightly behind, I don't think we can fully gauge. But also, I think we'll get to this incident later on. But I think we forgot. Tsunoda did have an incident in the actual race that he was at fault for. We'll get to it later on. But
I think that Red Bull, they need to be carving a bronze statue of Loren Mekies now because he's really transformed them this year. And I'm thinking if he'd always been there, think about how much better they could have been than they already were under Horner. Maybe in 2023 Max could have won every race, or the team at least could have won every race. I don't know.
I've been saying this for time. Christian Horner leached off of Adrian Newey for 20 years, and I don't think people realise how much Newey and all those guys around him basically controlled it. Yes, Horner ran ART, I think, before, or Arden. Sorry, it was Arden, wasn't it?
Oh, it was Arden. Yeah.
He ran Arden before he went to Red Bull, but I don't it's the same with Toto Wolff. Toto Wolff doesn't run the formula. He might run the business side, but he doesn't actually run the team. Those two, I think it's possible to say that neither Toto Wolff nor Christian Horner are top 5 team principals of all time. Maybe not even top 10.
I'd say Toto is up there because Toto definitely has more of a say, I think, than Christian.
Yeah. But in Mercedes, they have been carried hard by the likes of Ross Brawn and Pat Fry and Paddy Lowe and James Allison and people like that as well.
There's this guy who drives the cars. What's his name? Lewis Hamilton, I think he's.
Oh yeah, maybe that. Maybe him as well.
Third choice option, by the way.
Yeah, but it's weird because Mekies was before this. Well, he was the TP for the B team for a bit, and then there was a stint at Minardi, and he was in the. And then he was at just Toro Rosso for years. He was at Ferrari for a while as well, wasn't he?
He started at Arrows, I think.
Arrows, yeah. I mean, he's a bit of a bit of a village bicycle. It seems he's just been everywhere, and that. But and that it's this is amazing.
He was literally just an engineer out of French uni who joined Arrows, for a normal graduate scheme, Now he's the team principal of Red Bull, and that's one of the stories I like when it's genuinely just a guy out of uni who just applied and did his thing. There was literally nothing involved, and I was just like, oh sure, we need an engineer. We were taking young engineers. A lot of backmarkers do that out of do
I
that
mean,
with like people
it
out
was
of
kind
uni.
of rats on a sinking ship at that time, that was 2001, 2002.
Yeah,
But yeah, it's still a Formula One team at the end of the day. Yeah,
exactly,
but
and that's how he's made up the places.
yeah, but yeah, also the thing is they're still fourth in the constructors. They're only 10 points behind Mercedes in second. So that's the thing. As well as Max taking the title, they could get the runners up spot after all this, particularly with Tsunoda, if he can step his game up more. Another thing as well with Tsunoda is, well, the Pacific War is back in full swing because he's been going after Liam Lawson a lot. That was weird, saying, "Oh, it's always Lawson and getting in the way," and I was like, he's not really getting in the way from that onboard or whatever, but it sounds like those two are not getting on, and they're both fighting for that seat.
He also blocked Gasly in Q2, and Gasly was very quick to tell the press that Yuki was blocking him, and he doesn't really know why. Because before the S's, there's an unwritten rule between the drivers that you let the driver pass before, because after the S's, obviously you get turbulent air, and it's a
Yeah.
really tricky section where you don't want anything to impair you. And
Narain
Yuki kind of
Karthikeyan
on
has entered
purpose.
the chat.
Exactly. And Yuki stayed in front of Gasly for both of his laps, and Gasly was like, I'm not sure why he did that. Apparently it's because he thought that an Alpine had kind of blocked him. But then you're like, Gasly is meant to be your best mate who like protects you all over your career. Why are you doing this?
Yeah, I don't know, but it's just a weird one. But either way, yeah, for them, it's suddenly switched around, and it's kind of. I mean, Yuki, because I think he got knocked out in. I think he made it out of Q1 in both qualifyings, but it was a very close call both times again, and that's the stressful thing. It's like he's always on the cusp of Q1 every time. It shouldn't be making it this difficult, and so many times it's like, oh, he gets blocked or something. They send him out too late, and it's like, yeah, but he still shouldn't be so under threat. But yeah, it's getting somewhere.
Quickly talking about sending drivers late. Can you imagine if Max had missed out on pole because they sent him out too late?
Oh yeah. Well, I mean,
in the end, great. Purple sector 1, 2, 3, pole by 2 tenths. But on another day, that's not pole at all. They got lucky that the track was not improving as much as you would expect it to.
Well, yeah, on his first lap, he'd got pole by almost half a second, so he'd done the job and everything. So he just that's just how he does it. So then McLaren, I mean, we've kind of discussed a lot already there, but in terms of the race specifically, Lando, it took him 21 laps to pass Leclerc, and then he had to pass him again after pitting, and Piastri did nothing. Like, there was just he made no impact all race, and it feels like the confidence has just vanished at this point. And like he moved up one place because George had a bad start, so he got P5 off of that. But otherwise, there was nothing there.
I don't know if it's his confidence that has gone, because usually drivers who have lost their confidence, either they lose their pace, or they don't lose their pace but they make loads of mistakes, like we've seen with Lando. I don't think that Oscar's lost his confidence. I just think that I don't know what it is. He might be burnt out from a title battle that he wasn't prepared for. He might be. I don't know exactly what it is, but I don't think that he's because he in the race and stuff. He didn't seem like he was making loads of errors. He didn't seem like he was particularly. It might have been the case that this is another thing.
Nowadays, you just hear them complaining with the engineers all the time.
Yeah,
he's become very moody.
Yeah. What I think is also the case is that track position often determines your pace, and like we saw, especially in this race, drivers just weren't able to get close to each other. So maybe in a less dirty air race, he could have done something. But fourth or third is still not a good result.
No, I mean, he was running by himself for a lot of the race with quite large gaps to everyone else, so it wasn't necessarily dirty. I don't know, but based on his general comments that he's been making and everything, he's clearly not happy with the team, and the way it seems to be is that their version of papaya rules just means that we favour Lando all the time. Because there was that recent revelation that Zach Brown was like he was a shareholder in Lando's company Quadrant, and Lando's been there a lot longer and all of that, and all these stupid rules that they keep doing about it was only uncovered recently, but he sold his shares in like June or something. But he had some kind of dealings with Quadrant, which people didn't know about. And it's just the way the rules are done, it's like, okay, well, you crashed, so now your teammate has to crash as well, kind of thing. Just seems to favour him. But the way the season has changed, because the first half he was so good and just wasn't making mistakes, and Lando was just tearing his hair out trying to get around him. And then it came to wheel, and it turns out neither of them are actually particularly good at it. And then Baku happens, and now it's just gone. And maybe it's there's always the pressure when you're both fighting for your first title. But now that Max is in the picture, that's made it 100 times worse, because Max is just kind of indomitable and just has this stone cold efficiency that you can't let up. I think also McLaren, then they said they've basically halted development, which from their perspective, I mean, why would you when you've got a new car to build and you've already won the title? You don't need to. So it's not. There's nothing to say that their pace is going to get any better at this point either.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One last thing is, after the crash, Piastri stayed in his car much longer. Now, I'm not sure if I'm overanalyzing it. Maybe he was just doing tests on his gearbox or whatever, but that could also be read as he was just a bit deflated and he just needed his moment in his car, which you didn't see before. He used to just get on with it.
Sometimes drivers do that, and it always makes people. Even though this was a slow speed crash, so there was no one's going to be hurt or anything. They always do that. Like I remember when the one that always stood out to me was Spa 2011 when Lewis hit Kobayashi and then went into the barriers, and he rode the barriers for ages and then went into the tyre wall, and it was like there was no attempt at braking, and he just sat there motionless in the car. And I was like, is he dead or something? Like, or he's just like, oh, I just can't believe what just happened. Because I remember after that one, he blamed Kobayashi, and then they showed in the replay, it was like, oh, actually, no, that was my fault. Yeah, drivers do that sometimes. It's like, in most cases, I think you need to just, as fast as you can, be like, yeah, I'm cool, everything's fine, hi, or whatever.
Yeah. If you're gonna be in sororities, I'll just go like that, and then just
a thumbs up. Yeah. Like you would in like go-karting or whatever, or you're doing a track day. You just stick your hand up like, I'm okay, everything's fine. Yeah. Yeah, but no, the downfall is quite beautiful to watch, because it's just, as I think I said this before, like in my eyes, Max is already the champion because he's driven like one all year, and those two have underperformed so much considering the car they've got, and just the way the team operates is just so like infantile and everything, and it just I can't. And for Max
what do you
to
think
do
about
it,
2012? Who's your 2012 champion?
Well, it's still Vettel.
Oh.
I mean, okay. To be fair, well, okay. Let's see. I mean, Alonso, yeah, he drove the socks off the thing, but then Vettel had retirements. Okay, well, he got the punk. I don't know if it's his fault or not. I'm kind of torn between him and the rain when it comes to Malaysia.
He cut across him. It was pretty
okay. So Valencia, Alonso only won that because of Vettel's alternator failure. Because Vettel was destroying everyone. He was gaining like a second per lap in the first stint, so he should have won that one. Oh God, where else did he retire? Monza, didn't he he retired right at the end of Monza, I think. Yeah, that was another one. I think those are the only retirements that year, weren't they?
Potentially.
But then obviously he got he got disqualified from qualifying in Abu Dhabi and went from the pit lane to third. Brazil as well, similar thing. Like it's stuff. Whereas Alonso, he didn't have. I don't remember any mechanical failures, but obviously there was Spa, and then Spa and Suzuka, wasn't it? Yeah, Japan's the big one. Wasn't Japan his fault? I can't remember. When you look at it, didn't he rear-end Kimi?
70-30, I would say still it's Alonso's fault, but 70-30 because Kimi moves, but Kimi doesn't do something that he shouldn't be doing. Alonso's kind of trying to hang it out the outside, which he shouldn't. So it's mostly Alonso, but it's very racing incident-like. But Alonso, knowing the situation, should have just stayed behind and then,
basically Alonso didn't have any mechanical problems, but Vettel did.
I mean, if we talk about the best drivers throughout 2012, I think we've got to mention Maldonado.
Yeah.
Anyway, moving on.
Anyway, that Red Bull wasn't like the two either side of it where it was obviously the fastest car. Whereas in this case, the McLaren is so clearly dominant that like Max should not be in this fight still, having already won the constructors. It should be like 96 where they just storm away with it. Yeah. But then next is Ferrari. Yeah, Ferrari. Okay, so that was a very up and down weekend for them because for a lot of practice the pace wasn't there, and then in the sprint, okay, they got lucky that neither of them were affected by the crash. Although Lewis almost got caught up in that, I think. And
Charles
so they got
hit Lewis, didn't he, when he was trying to
Charles
go through?
yeah, and so they got P4, P5 in the sprint. So and the pace was
Lewis
okay.
not
And
getting caught in the crosshair of a big crash. Wow, I am so surprised.
I mean, apparently there was a big shard of carbon fiber that bounced off his halo, and I think he very nearly rear-ended somebody, maybe Alonso, which would have been poetic. But
Still
yeah,
salty about 2007.
yeah. But but then
Can you imagine if Alonso's recovering from having to DNF because of what happened, and he's just starting to look down as this is Hamilton just crashes into him.
Yeah. And then in the race itself, the pace was kind of there because because they qualified like 8th and 9th for the sprint or something, and then they qualified 6th and 7th, 5th and 6th, 7th and 8th for the race.
I don't think anyone cares about
somewhere where they always do because they look
4.6.
Yeah. Yes. It's always funny because Lewis in qualifying he looks good in Q1, Q2, and then Q3, and it's like, oh, he's 7th again, because Leclerc was absolute dog shit until the final 2 minutes of Q3, and then he was just on fire for the rest of the weekend.
Oh, he was third. Leclerc was third. That's how he jumps Lando for second.
Yeah, because that was a mighty lap because he got so close to pole with that as well when he'd spun in qualifying earlier in the day. And then in the race, starting softs, and it works, and he keeps him behind over 21 laps, and then he passes him again in the pit stops, and then he does get past. But still, he had an amazing race. And then Lewis was in there at the start, and then he did just fall off after the pit stops. And now he has the record of most races without a podium in Ferrari history, or something like that.
Is he finally taking up Capelli? I think Capelli.
Yeah, we're 5 races away now from.
He's already had 18, and now Lewis has 19.
Yeah, so we're 5 races away from a whole season of no podiums for Lewis, having had 2 years of no wins. So we'll just see how that goes.
Well, there are still people that say oh, well, Lewis Hamilton has the record for the most consecutive seasons with a podium in Formula One history, and it's like, yes, because apart from Barrichello, he's the only driver who's done 17 or 18 consecutive seasons, and Graham Hill.
Yeah. It's
Even Alonso didn't. No, that's not good.
No, he did it. No, he did. No, he didn't because of 2002. What am I even on about? Yeah.
01, when he had no podiums.
16.
He did in 2009, didn't he? But he missed 15, 16.
He only missed 15. And 15, 16, 17, 18.
Yeah.
Because in 09, somehow he got a podium in Singapore. So he did.
And he got that pole position in Hungary, and then the wheel came off.
Yeah.
In probably the ugliest Formula One car ever made. Why is the nose so big on that thing? The thing is, it's even bigger than it looks because they painted the underside black. So it's actually even fatter than it already looks. Just, hate that car. But Ferrari, yeah. This is the other thing, is that people are joking that if Tsunoda isn't going to be Max's wingman, then Leclerc, Hamilton, George, and Antonelli are all going to do it for him, basically.
I hope that happens. Just have McLaren finish 6th and 7th in all the remaining races.
Well, that's the thing, because even though Mercedes was shit in this race, with their pace being better, they're going to be the ones getting in the way. Ferrari, it surprised me in the race. They were faster than I expected, and for them it was a fairly good result.
Yes.
If Ferrari performs, it's going to be a fluke or just setup, because Vasseur has fully said nothing is going on to the car since June. So it's just going to be what they have.
Yeah. Who's next? 6. Mercedes.
George.
Yeah. So Mercedes, George. So as we said, in the sprint, the pace looked like it was there, and he had a go but couldn't get the win. And then in the race, he didn't make much of an impact. And then Twinkie Winky got rammed in his rear end by Carlos, and so that kind of wrecked his race. And so not the best weekend for them.
Twinkie Winky, I can't even. You just made a Teletubbies reference in the middle of an F1 race. That's crazy.
I love how he's been calling him Taliban Tonelli, and then on this podcast we go the other side and we call him Twinkie Winky like this. He's
No,
either a
no,
Taliban or
Well, this time he got
Antonelli,
Taliban. So.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Antonelli, just what do you make from that crush with Sainz? Because I just feel like you can't leave space for that turn. It's a bit like turn 10 Bahrain, turn 10 Bahrain. That you can't make space when the apex is like you need to turn at some point.
I'll tell you where you do need to leave space. On the exit in the sprint, and he didn't to Behrman, and Behrman got the fucking penalty. I don't know how.
It's obviously Behrman's fault, and he deserves to be out of Formula One as for every single incident he's involved in.
What did he do in the sprint? Because
Antonelli forced Behrman wide, and because Behrman decided not to just brake and give him the position, he got a 10-second time penalty because Kimi was ahead of the 8th.
I hate these rules about
even 60-40 against Behrman goes against Behrman. It's a 10-second penalty as well.
I hate these rules about pushing drivers wide because George did this with Max and there was no penalty. So then they've done it with Behrman and that. Like, just let them fucking race. If they've both gone wide, they've both lost out. So it's no one's gained anything off of that. But some of the corners, like with the Sainz thing, I mean, so those corners they're almost too tight to attempt maneuvers because the person turning in is going to have to turn in so sharply.
That's kind of the appeal of it because it's really wide on entry and then really tight on exit. It's like the Bud International Circuit. What was it? Turn 4. You know, one at the end of a long straight. It goes from like 8 lanes wide to like 3.
Yes, but like if Antonelli hadn't done that because he was close with George, so for him it was a good race because he's had a bit of a revival. If they could have kept with each other, they could have maybe used each other to gain to Piastri and do something. But then actually, this is what I forgot to mention that Lewis, he claimed at the end of the race that he had a puncture because Piastri nearly caught him, didn't he?
Well, at least he didn't cut the corners to try and make up for an issue he has.
No, because obviously that seems to be a recurring thing with him is the car dies, it dies one lap like later than it should, and it leaves just enough time for him to finish. Although this time I wanted him to beat Piastri. I just didn't want him to get a podium or anything. But Mercedes, nothing happened. And it's kind of weird because for George, because he won the last race, and up until Max had this sudden turnaround, I would say George was basically driver of the season. I fear he's going to create more problems because he's going to be targeting Max in races instead of the McLarens.
Vegas is going to be the main one because Mercedes always does good at Vegas. And although Max will have great straight line speeds, that's going to be interesting.
Yeah, they just love the cold, don't Mercedes? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Mercedes, Kick Sauber. Very early to be talking about them. Hulkenberg had. The sprint. Okay, he fucked that up, but in the race, like he got P7. I mean, he suddenly found the pace out of nowhere. Started 11th, finished 8th. His first points since his podium in Singapore. So good for him. Bortoletto didn't do anything in the sprint, and then he got hit. Did he hit or got hit by Albon on the first lap of the race? And that put him miles behind.
I'm not sure if it was a self spin by Albon.
And then it was blocked.
He might have underspin to the side. I don't remember. I think that's what happened.
But he got screwed over by that, and then at the end there was a bit. I've missed a lot of it, but there was some shit going on with Alpine that's created some kind of crisis in that team now as well. So he had a fairly anonymous race, but yeah.
Yeah, we'll get to Alpine in a bit, but yeah, Hulkenberg's one exemplary performance per year. He has a couple. Some seasons he has like 3 or 4 performances a year where you're like, really, wow, this guy's the best driver in the midfield, and then the rest of the time he's just kind of average. But yeah, that was his like exemplary performance this weekend. Just kind of there.
And so, how dare you? Obviously, every talent scout in racing in the top team simply cannot see what's good with Hulkenberg for 10 years, and it's just sheer bad luck that no one has ever snapped up Hulkenberg, even though there have been lots of free seats. I don't know how you don't see his talent. For 10 years, he's the best driver in the midfield, and no one got him.
I'll tell you who should have got a top seat: Maldonado.
I still can't believe when I look at Hulkenberg's career record that he has almost as many race starts as like Lewis and stuff, and it's 1 podium versus more than 200. Like he's
definitely good enough to be on the grid. It's just he's not that like fucking rival to Vettel and Alonso that people think he might have.
You're not that guy, pal. That is just that perfectly.
I'm trying to think of like midfielders that were around for 10,000 years that. In the past, Fisichella or Alesi or De Cesaris without the crashing.
Crazy was a top team, so.
And Patrese on his day actually did do quite well as well.
Scary
It's just, I mean,
Reaper,
most
I suppose.
yeah, but he's just kind of there. I mean, yeah, Sauber. I imagine they're really looking forward to Qatar because that's the one race a year where they actually show up. So that's that's become their flagship race now. But otherwise, that was just race of two halves. It was fine. Haas, right? Bear boy, Nedzo.
So in the sprint race, he gets forced off by Antonelli, and he gets a penalty for it because, of course, he does. And then in the main race, Tsunoda moves under braking, and the FIA don't investigate it. It's ridiculous. I mean, it wasn't a complete egregious. He's trying to wipe him out from Tsunoda, but it was dodgy. Like he's going for the normal racing line. He sees Behrman go to the inside. He's like, no, I'm going to change my line, and he twitches and he aggressively turns. And Behrman's still cocked up slightly. He shouldn't have been locking the rears and spinning over the grass like an idiot, but it was a reaction removed from Tsunoda, and Behrman was trying not to crash into him. If I was Ollie, I'd have just stood my ground and say, I'm not going to try and stop us making contact if you're going to pull a move like that and just go straight into the back of him. And it's like, well done, you've just lost yourself a good result for Red Bull. But yeah, it was. I made a thread on Twitter earlier on because luckily he didn't get any penalty points from this race when he's been involved in 2 incidents. But he's got 10 penalty points. So in Brazil last year, he self-spun off the back of Colapinto and got 2 penalty points. In Monaco this year, he overtakes someone who's crawling under a red flag, and he gets 4 penalty points. In Britain, he crashes himself, and in Monaco, he didn't slam on the brakes under a red flag, so he got 4 penalty points. In Britain, he did slam on the brakes and still got 4 penalty points. And then in Monza, he got 2 penalty points for daring to exist on the inside of a corner when someone's ahead of him at the apex. Like, he should only have maybe 2 or 3 penalty points at absolute maximum if you're talking about common sense. But the FIA doesn't work on common sense; it works on ahead of the apex. So, I mean, what can we say? Also, Ocon, because it's not just Behrman in the team. I mean, Behrman could have got P7 if it wasn't for that incident with Tsunoda. Ocon, I don't know what's happened to him in the last couple of races.
By the way, P7 would have been important because he was before this race he was last of the full-time drivers, and I do think it matters in the head of the drivers because Behrman 19th does not sound right, and yeah, those points were important. There's a bit of a mess between 20 and 26. I think there's like 8 drivers between that.
Yeah.
No, it's not quite that close. He's ahead of Bortoletto, but only by 2 points.
Is that only the race?
Between Lawson in 14th and Bortoletto in 19th, there's 12 points.
Yeah. I can see Behrman being last in the standing or near last in the standing. It's because not only is he kind of inconsistent, Haas is also kind of inconsistent, where it seems to be since like China earlier on in the season, either Ocon has a great weekend or Behrman has a great weekend and there's no in between. And that's the thing, Ocon's been terrible over the last couple of races. He's been getting dunked on by about 3 or 4 attempts in qualifying. He's been finishing like 15th when Ollie's in the points. I don't know what's going on with him, to be honest, but he does need to step his game up because I've said this for pretty much the whole season. Ollie's doing better at Haas than Hamilton is doing at Ferrari, and I think Ferrari are going to realise that it's been a bit of a mistake bringing Hamilton in. And I think if there wasn't Lewis Hamilton's PR, I think that on pure driver performance, I'd get rid of Hamilton and bring in Behrman for next year at Ferrari. But they're not going to get rid of Hamilton, at least until he wants to leave, which is going to be frustrating.
This would have banged as a short if we were still doing shorts, but I kind of agree.
I remember at the beginning of the season, I was amazed Haas's turnaround, the second race in China was enormous compared to where they were in Australia, and since then they've just gradually got worse and worse, and they actually were doing quite good. And yeah, it's not working, but I don't care about Haas, and no one does. And next year we're going to have an actual American team. It's going to be, and we have American F1 team at home is what Haas will be.
The American F1 team that's partnered with Russians and Japanese people.
Yeah, and maybe they'll just give in and they'll be bought out by some mindless bureaucratic consortium that will give it some bullshit name, and they'll change their racing license to British, and we can stop pretending they're an American team.
Because they no longer have the TP that people know. They no longer have the drivers who are like these experienced midfielders who cause crashes. They no longer are they will no longer be the only American team, and they're not a fun privateer team because Williams are there and they have Sainz and Albon. So They are going to become proper NPCs, and I can see them getting bought off soon. There's no way they stay.
They just offer nothing to the sport, really. Yeah. Aston Martin. Okay. Well, we covered the sprint. Not brilliant from either of them. Ooh.
Is that
in the blur? Maybe that will show up.
Yesterday, it's a 2-month late birthday. It's from those little.
Lego F1 card. Yeah, the mini ones. Yeah.
I thought it was a kid.
It's really nice. Yeah, yeah, it looks more like a KTM than an Aston Martin.
Yeah, yeah. It's even got the nose.
Yeah,
yeah.
Aston, both drivers, they had very different performances this weekend. Alonso got into Q3 twice, which I think is that was not on the cards at all. Like if you just look any performance data, obviously those are flawed, but even Aston Martin were like, they usually send a little email to Aston Martin fans who have signed up to their bullshit newsletter, and they were like, "Yeah, don't expect anything because we are not good there usually." And then Alonso qualifies 6th in the sprint and 9th, 10th in for the main race. And that's the thing. Like when he qualified 6th, Alonso actually cared about sprints for that one because we know he usually hates sprints. And if you qualify 6th, if you can finish 5th or 4th, that's still 4 or 5 points, which matters a lot in that 9th to 13th bracket. And yeah, just gets hit by Hülkenberg, fuming. Stroll hits Ocon. We already discussed that. And then in the main race, weird strategy. Alonso lost 2 places at the start, which is on him. I didn't see why, but that meant he was now 12th behind Hülkenberg and Yuki jumped him and Hülkenberg, I think. So yeah, he was down to 12, and then they had to fight for that 1 point, which is a bit pathetic. And in the meantime, Stroll was put in a very very bad strategy as well. They made him do. I'm sure our producer is going to send a message about this. Didn't he do like 30 laps on softs or something?
I think he went longer on the softs than a lot of drivers did on the hards.
Yes, than the mediums. Yeah,
Bro's a tyre whisperer, especially when it's falling off.
No, he's a tyre licker.
Okay.
Yeah, that's how they last so long.
The issue with Stroll that race is that he was so close to Lawson for like 10 laps, and it kind of showed the issue with DRS and COTA at the moment. It doesn't work, so he just couldn't get the overtake done on Lawson, and that made him get stuck in 12th. So yeah, very underwhelming weekend for Aston Martin. Could have been great with the sprint and nothing happened.
Well, at least they still got a point out of it. That's something, and that put them. They're on 69 points, only 3 behind Racing Bulls. So yeah, it could be worse. Next up is Racing Bulls. So as we said, Liam's been pissing off Tsunoda. When Hadjar crashed at the start of Q1, I mean, where did that come from? That was a huge shunt. That was annoying because people were saying, oh, they're still fixing the McLarens. I'm like, oh, and now he's given them time to fix them, when otherwise they'd have just missed qualifying and started at the back and whatnot. Perfect bloody timing. Yeah, so he did that. He moved a few places, didn't do anything. And as we said, Lawson, there was some shit with Alonso because it's always with Alonso with him. But not... Yeah, they've had a bit of a slump. Suddenly, they got into a rhythm and it's disappeared a little bit in the past few races.
Yeah. Not really much to say.
It doesn't help, I suppose, that Tsunoda is suddenly getting better if both of those guys want to try and compete for that seat as well. And they've slipped back.
I think V-Carb or Racing Bulls is kind of similar to Haas in a way where either Hadjar performs or Lawson performs, and neither of them perform on the same weekend. It is like, I think there's only one race where both of them have scored points, and that's Monaco.
Baku as well.
Oh, okay, and Baku. But 2 races out of 20, out of like 18 or 19, when you're arguably the strongest car in the midfield, that is kind of not very good. Although Lawson is improving.
What are you defining as midfield?
What do you say?
Because surely Williams. What are you defining as midfield? Because surely Williams are the first.
Anything below Ferrari.
Fair enough.
is pretty much midfield. But yeah. Again, it's not a horrendous weekend for Racing Bulls, but they just need to try and pick up points where they can. Because if like Hadjar can have another good weekend, like 7th or an 8th, and then Lawson can do the same thing, they can just kind of stack on more points than the likes of Williams, than the likes of Haas, Sauber, Alpine. We'll get to them.
Yeah, just fairly anonymous weekend over from the B team. Williams next. Very disappointing
next
week.
weekend. Arvid Lindblad is getting an FP1, so that will be quite important.
Of course. Yeah. That's with Red Bull, isn't it? Yes, it is. It's in. They chose it in place of. He's doing that in place of Max, and I'm like, now I'm like Max. Mad. And I'm like, no, Max needs the track time, like if he's going to get this championship. But the thing is, everyone already knows he's going to be faster than Tsunoda. Like,
but also it's Mexico. I don't feel like you need track time that much there.
Maybe not. I mean, that's the circuit Max is good at, and it's got like 2 corners, so it should be fine. It's one of his strongest circuits. I mean, all of his circuits are his strongest circuits, except Singapore, basically.
The only problem that Mexico has is its high downforce. And that Red Bull obviously isn't a high downforce car.
No, but then they've been fine wherever at the moment. Like Singapore wasn't necessarily an issue, and they'll be fine. Max, I mean, it just needs McLaren to self implode.
I tried to look up who else is doing FP1 as a rookie driver. Obviously, our good old Sport Bible had to post Red Bull announced surprise shock driver change for Mexico after Max Verstappen win.
It drives me insane because my phone, when you open up Chrome on my phone, it has these really clickbaity titles, and it's like, oh, driver change at this weekend, and I know what it means, and you have to scroll through 10 paragraphs of pointless waffle, and then it eventually says who it is. This is such a thing that this like scourge in sports journalism, that any article about any driver, it's like, okay, we'll mention this thing is happening, and here's their entire career before we actually get to the point of what it is. Like,
this is what baffles me, because as someone who is doing a sports journalism degree at university, the first thing you learn is the pyramid. It's what we call the pyramid system, the upside down pyramid. The most important piece of information is supposed to go in the first paragraph. Then the second most important piece of information goes in the second paragraph, third most, fourth most. I don't know what it is. And also, like, you'll find that some of them go into like 40-word paragraphs and sentences that go on forever. You're supposed to have 25-word paragraphs, one sentence per paragraph, and it's supposed to be nice and good and structured out. But some people just waffle on like it's some sort of feature piece where you're telling a story. You're not telling a story. You're telling people news, and they need to hear it now.
Yeah, I mean, like Planet F1 have been doing this as well. This morning there was an article. It said like McLaren win championship temporarily on stupid penalty decision. I was thinking, what the fuck? And then I read, and they decided to do an article about Sepang 99 out of nowhere. Yeah. And I'm like, what's that got to do with anything? Nobody's talking about bloody barge boards at the moment, or whatever.
It's just people trying to get clicks and stuff. And the standard of sports journalism. Because I guarantee that people on like Planet F1 and stuff aren't actual journalists. They are literally just fans who might be able to write in somewhat posh language.
It's TikTok ethos, basically.
Yeah.
Is what that website is.
Get all of your news information from the articles that I publish on my website.
There you go. There's the plug. Some of the drivers I saw were the Pato Award, obviously, is doing FP1 because Mexican.
It's Mexico, yeah.
Lindblad is doing it with Red Bull. Jack Crawford is doing it with Aston Martin.
Why didn't he do this weekend? He's American.
Yeah, Luke Browning is doing it with Williams, and I think those are the only.
Why are they all doing Mexico? It's always Mexico, because last year who was it that crashed into, or Albon crashed into Behrman last year? Everyone always does Mexico. It's a really random circuit.
It's
because there's no F2 and F3.
And it's because it's also at the end of the season, and they need to fill their quota of giving rookies a thing.
Exactly, and it's kind of simple. You just go fast, and you turn.
Yeah. Well, that and Abu Dhabi, they always fill in.
Paul Alvin is doing it. I'm not sure. He was meant to do. It's not confirmed.
He's done about 30 FP1 sessions already this year with Sauber, a team he isn't even part of. But yeah. Because they keep saying he's a contender for Alpine, and it's like, in what way can he prove himself for a seat when he gets a couple of FP1 sessions and he's doing no racing?
And also matching gas.
Yeah, and Doohan is a contender when it's like, how? He hasn't. You gave him 6 races, like, oh, if you fuck up, goodbye, no pressure. And now it's like he's doing some simulator shit. And what? How? Yeah.
I just realized Alpine. I didn't know this. They did not register Doohan as a FP1 young driver for his debut in Australia because they thought he would. Usually, the teams use their rookies for their rookie tests, and they just say, "Oh yeah, this new driver is doing our 2 young driver tests this year." That's what Mercedes did with Antonelli, for example. Alpine didn't have the foresight to do that, so Jack Doohan's FP1s somehow maybe they thought he would do the full season. They didn't count that as an FP1, so they are still yet to use their quota. So they need to put well, they had Hirakawa in Japan, and they need to put out. So
Peter's favourite driver.
Hirakawa, because there was that recent revelation that drivers pay like 3 or 4 million euros just to do an FP1 session.
Yeah, Toyota paid for him fully.
And in my mind, it's like, how can you justify the price when we've gone from a year of karting is $250,000, a year in F2 is like 2 million, an hour in a Formula One car when it's probably going to break down exiting the pit lane costs $3.5 million. Like, where are these prices coming from? Like, that's the budget that budget is bigger than what most F1 teams in history have had for an entire season.
Yeah, and it's being used for a random Japanese driver who's never. That's the maddest thing to me. They're not even using it for Miyata. They're using it for Hirakawa, who's never gonna race in F1. He's like fully endurance focused. So why are you wasting 3 million euros on that? He's not.
Is it Alex Palou or Colton Hurt? Who's the one that's decided he wants F1? He's going into Super Formula.
That's you're thinking of Hurt going to F2.
Colton Herta, that's the one. He's doing it, yeah. Because I guess Alex Palou is currently in the courtroom, isn't he, and stuff. Yeah. Palou is doing that. Not Palou. Herta. So we'll see him doing some shit. He'll probably ice something up with Cadillac.
I don't know if you saw it, but Rovan Pera, the Finnish Max Verstappen in rallying, is looking to join them. That's very exciting. That's
we haven't had that kind of test in a while because we almost never see rally drivers attempt single seaters. So now we're getting it done properly. So that'll be good. Maybe Pato, if one of the McLaren drivers leaves, maybe Pato will get it. I don't know because they get all obsessed with him, especially around the Mexico.
There's no way they would put Pato. There's no way they would put Pato.
I think he'd like to try F1 if he could. I don't know. I think all of them would.
Nedzo, did he finish second in the standings this year? I think he did. Right?
In IndyCar, yes, I think he did. I would say that I think that if they do like a test or something, so it's like in like a 2-year-old car to see who gets that second McLaren. So if Norris was to retire, for example, or if Piastri were to leave, I think you should have an award there. It's not even part of the McLaren Junior team anymore.
Alex Dunn, no, he left them, didn't he, a couple of weeks ago?
And Bortoletto's not in them anymore because he's on Sauber. So, you could get Sainz back because it's a top team. You could.
They're only juniors. It's like Brando Badoa, some Japanese guy no one's heard of. I think I can't even remember who's. I can't even remember who's in the team now because it's all people in like Formula 4 level and that.
So what I'm saying is, I haven't really got many options if either Norris or Piastri leaves.
Ugochukwu is in the team.
Yeah, but he's also in Formula 3 and he's nowhere near F1 level.
And he's taller than the car is long, so he can't even fit inside it. So Dunn left, Bustamante, she left, good. Current drivers, Ugo Ugochukwu, Pato Award, Brando Badoa, Dries van Langendonk, Martinia Stenshorn, and Ella Lloyd.
Yeah, that's not really... Yeah, so they have to get obviously a driver on the current grid, whether it be Verstappen, Sainz, Behrman...
Fernando Alonso.
Maybe not.
Round 3, let's go.
So chapter 3, let's see.
Well, the thing is, every time he joins them, the car goes to shit. So, yeah, we'll see. He'll leave just in time for Newey to show up at Aston Martin. We were meant to be talking about Williams, aren't we?
Yes.
Yeah, well, bit of a shitty weekend in the end. I mean, Sainz got that podium in the sprint, but then, as we said, he rams into Twinkie. Albon spins and did he spin or did he hit Bortoletto?
Albon hit Bortoletto and then sent him into a spin.
And then, he went on hards for like 10 laps and then just did nothing and Science has got a 5-place grid penalty and 2 penalty points or something as well for next race. So kind of screwed that up when he's been on quite a good run in the past 3-4 races, and then it just kind of all fell apart a bit.
Yeah.
But at least their special one-off livery looked amazing that every bloody team had for this race, and yeah.
That's the other thing. I saw the one-off liveries, I think on Friday, and I was like, I'm genuinely tired of them. Like, what's the actual livery anymore? Because I followed a bit less this year, and something that's meant to be special is no longer special if you use it at every other event.
Like, if it's going to become an annual thing, you should be using them at Silverstone, Monaco, and Spa, basically. Like, we don't need not fucking Miami and COTA and wherever else, Vegas, and all the shit races that have been on the
grid.
Sure,
they're going to use a Vegas livery. The Vegas livery is going to be
every single team will have a special Vegas livery that you can't even see because it's at night.
I know a reference to a casino.
Yeah, but like COTA has been on the calendar for 13 years. It's produced mostly average races. It doesn't really justify it. Like,
is there any financial benefit to doing special liveries in terms of marketing? Or
I think sometimes if there's like a one-off sponsor that's kind of doing it for them, it's like, why not? But otherwise, that's just pointless. Or when they do the fan-submitted ones, they always just pick whichever is the easiest one to paint, which always ends up being the shit one. Like when the Red Bull had that like turquoise thing in 2023. And the heritage liveries are never proper heritage liveries because it's like, I'll put a stripe of yellow on it and suddenly it's a Canon Williams because we still have to appease Duracell and all of our modern sponsors. And it's like, or you could just do what...
Did Alpine with the Mercado Libre sponsorship try to make it look like the 5 or 6 Renault? Or
I'm not sure, but they... Oh, no, it wasn't that Williams that did that last year. They tried to use that as like, now it's a Canon Williams because it's got a bit of yellow on it. It's like, or you could just, do what everyone has been crying for years and actually just paint the original livery completely unaltered and screw EU rules about tobacco advertising or whatever. Just do it. And just because people have been doing this as fan art for years now, and it just needs to happen just once.
Or do what NASCAR does. NASCAR has throwback weekends where a lot of teams will literally paint it in the same colours as whatever livery is. Like it would be like a red and white McLaren, but with the modern sponsors. So
yeah, something like that. Like for example, what they could do. Well, the West McLaren, you could do West McLaren and then just paint Lando and Oscar on the side pods, and that's fine. It doesn't say West anywhere. It's just got the same colours.
But also, tobacco sponsorship. It's not like football where having gambling websites on football shirts is genuinely bad because you will want to try your hand at it. I do not know anyone who's seen tobacco sponsorship in Formula One and been like, okay, I need to go to the offie and get a box of cigarettes.
It's not like if we got the West McLaren in Austin, suddenly like the Austin Central Hospital is like the A&E is just overflowing with children dying of lung cancer and smoke inhalation or something after seeing that. At Goodwood and any heritage stuff, they run, for the most part, unaltered liveries. It's like, how does that not count as advertising as well? Because you can see the Rothmans and the Marlboro and everything.
When I was at Goodwood, it's all the bad sponsors, and it's like no one is. And it's kids.
Obviously, you still get teams like Red Bull that take old cars and put modern liveries on them, so they're doing it the wrong way round. But
also at Goodwood, you have actual kids just right next to the car as well.
Yeah.
So if it's fine there, then like the thing is, for example,
the thing is, they don't even know what it is because they don't care. Because when I was a kid, I didn't know that West was cigarettes. I didn't know that Rothmans was.
Exactly what I was going to say. I had no idea what Benton and Hedges was until I was like 20.
I thought it was some kind of. I think I was getting it mixed up. I get oh god, what's this? Is it Johnny Walker that's Magnussen's sponsor? That's booze, isn't it?
Is that not alcohol? Or is it cigarettes?
Well, they still seem to be allowed alcohol because Heineken is one of the sponsors, and I think it is Johnny.
Because they focus on the non-alcoholic stuff. They focus on 0.0, when you drink, never drive, all that sort of stuff.
But like for example, like so many of them are different with cigarettes. Like obviously Marlboro, but I didn't know that candy was cigarettes. Mild 7 was cigarettes. I didn't know that either. Westfield.
It was smaller ones.
What's the BAR one?
Strike.
Lucky Strike as well. So I didn't know there were so many different cigarette companies, to be honest. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, it was because at least they broke them all Williams because, well, I mean, they had Air Saudia, but then they had Canon, which is just cameras and photography and shit. But other than that, everyone, it was just cigarettes.
Especially most of those names are just like names. You know, it's not like, again, gambling websites where it's Bet365 or you can gain money 24/7.
Just destroyyourlife.com. Like,
yeah, it's just someone's
it's just
name. So no one's ever gonna Google a guy called, as you said, like, I don't know, Benton and Hedges or West. No one cares.
But also, like, candy cigarettes. I always thought it was like the pick and mix every weekend. Those cigarettes, the little white tubes you'd buy. Like, am I meant to eat the cigarettes? Why would you call it candy? Just a random one. But then, like, Benetton was a fashion line, so that one's a bit different, I suppose. And
Benetton sounds more like a cigarette brand to me than
Benetton cigarettes. Like, that sounds like a thing.
You probably smoke like 20 a day.
It was only when I made very recently my McLaren video that I realised that Yardley wasn't cigarettes. I thought Yardley cigarettes. That sounds like a thing. It's like, no, it was like soap and stuff like that. It was like bath products.
soap.
Yeah, Yardley of London.
Someone put soap as a Formula One sponsor.
Yeah, that was McLaren's first title sponsor was Yardley.
So you've got
And they decided like bathroom
so
products for posh people, and yeah.
So you've got Yardley for when you want to get slippery and Durex for when you want to get sticky.
Oh god, that was funny having Durex as a. I mean, again, but we live in the era where OnlyFans are sponsoring teams and drivers, just not in Formula One.
Yeah,
Morton Brown McLaren could work as literally Zach Brown.
But I mean, I still prefer that just because the liveries are better compared to all this like crypto bollocks and everything that we've got now with the modern teams, and yeah.
But anyway, yeah, I'm tired
Williams,
of
we said everything, didn't we, for Williams?
Is it Alpine? Are we done?
No, is that the only one? Where's it gone? Where's it gone? Is it just Alpine left? Yeah, it is. So Alpine, ha!
I mean, it's getting bad. It's getting bad for Gasly at the moment because now Colapinto is genuinely outperforming him. Like it took him a little bit of a while to get going. He was still much better than Doohan. I'm not having anyone say, "Oh, Doohan should have been given more time." He showed hardly any signs of improving, and he crashed a lot. Whereas
you're saying this to Mr. Peter Brook, I'm just saying.
And Colapinto is now matching or beating Gasly pretty much every single weekend, to the point where the team has to put out a statement saying, "We're sorry that our driver overtook our driver for 17th place." Which just genuine. I don't get it. I don't get it. And also the statement itself was poorly constructed because not only did they use contractions, so they were saying instead of saying it is, instead of saying do not, they were using don't and it's, which you don't do in a press statement because it's not it's informal language. And the leading on the so when you like type something out, but the space between the letters is called leading. The space between the letters was like that much, so it looked terrible.
Did you know Nedzo? Did you know Nedzo does sports journalism at uni? Now you know.
Yeah, I mean, I'm reading it now, and yeah, the way it's because you can barely see the apostrophe, so it looks like a possessive it's.
Yes.
Like this didn't happen, so it's something, and it's like so what? So the overtake instance possesses something, and they haven't said what it is. Yes. But yeah, I love the ratio to this because it got 700 likes, 2,000 comments, and almost 2,000 quote tweets as well. Because it's a battle for P17. And I think this is the drivers that it's like the teams have forgotten it doesn't matter when you're doing that, except that maybe if they'd crashed, they might have inadvertently taken out Max because he was right behind. But I saw a bit of this. So Colapinto passes thing, Gasly, but then Bortoletto gets past Gasly as well at the end. And so he's just left in last place. Pretty much, isn't it?
Oh, no. Wow.
So if McLaren have papaya rules, what is it for Albon? Is it mate rules? Is it baguette rules?
We're getting cancelled.
Or Briatore, like I bang teenagers rules. I don't know.
I wouldn't say we're going to get cancelled. It's like for naming national foods and beverages.
Just Sacre Bleu rules if it's going by colour. They're just not. This is just I don't know. I mean, Briatore, to be fair, he hasn't really said or done anything since he fired Doohan. He's been very quiet,
I
I
was going
find.
to say, I don't hear Briatore's name since June.
Yeah. I mean, that team is barely functioning.
And said something controversial.
But it's just funny because the thing is, they were kind of all right at the start of the season. Actually, they weren't.
They got a couple of points with Gasly. Like,
there was a
semi-regular.
Yeah. They've scored points 5 times this year, and one of those was in a sprint race. So actually, no, they've never been good. They're on less than half of the points of Haas. They're looking at last in the constructors. Didn't this happen a couple of years ago when they were battling for last place again? Even though they were amazing in like 20.
Brazil is coming, so Gasly Colapinto are going to finish P2, P3 again.
Yeah, last year they were being useless, and then they got that double podium in Sao Paulo. But yeah, they finished 4th in 2022. That was an amazing year.
No, it wasn't. Have you seen Alonso from that year?
Well, I suppose. Well, yeah, I guess he was being shat on by thing. But in terms of consistency, I mean, Alonso himself had a run of 10 points finishes.
Alonso
that year by reliability.
Alonso that year could have finished on 160 points easily.
Yeah. But well, there's the thing. But, but then last year they actually had a few double points finishes and the podium, and this year there's just nothing. But it's just there's not. I don't know. It's kind of the same thing every time because they don't do anything.
Is for them because they're gonna get the Mercedes engine and they're not even gonna be their own factory team. That's
what I'm waiting for. Is like, what is your new name? What is your garbage corporate bureaucrat name that's completely soulless? That's going to be because you're not Alpine anymore. You've said fuck you to Virisa Châtillon. You've lost the engines. You've become Alcedes. Team Enstone changes its name again. Like, what are you? Because you're not Alpine.
Formula Uno is what it's going to be.
Yeah. or they just hire not Ocon, the other one, Aaron, and then they can just call themselves Team Twink or something. They're just they need a name and they need a thing. And I think also for Briatore, unless he's playing the long game, I don't know what his plan is here because this is clearly not working out for him. Maybe he doesn't because he fired Oliver Oakes. He's running basically the whole team by himself. I
think he just genuinely now enjoys fully owning a team again.
He just likes the power.
He doesn't care what's happening. Yeah, like he obviously says I'm here to win and all, but I think he just enjoys being there. Like he's 70 now?
75, I think.
Mid-70s, yeah. He's the oldest TP by quite a margin. I think probably.
Yeah, maybe.
Who speaks to Alpine at the moment? Because it's not Tim, right?
No, he is. He's both of them. They fired Oakes, and now he's CEO and team principal.
So does he do the press conferences as well?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I haven't seen him do that.
Yeah, they probably have someone lower person. I mean, this statement they put out was done by someone called Steve Nielsen. Like, I can't remember who their technical director is.
Matt Harmon?
Never heard of him. Wasn't it someone actually notable, like a couple of years ago?
Probably, but they probably left.
I get them all mixed up because they all move. Like a lot of TPs, the ones that aren't Adrian Newey, they seem to move like every 2 years to a different team, and I get them all mixed up, and forget who's actually still here and who isn't.
But yeah, there's nothing really going on at Alpine. I think we should move on to the tops and flops.
Yeah, tops of the weekend. Well, Max, Charles. And the championship, I don't know.
I'll go for Charles, Max, and I do not care. I'm going to give it to Alonso because he deserved much more, and his qualities were honestly impressive. Like, genuinely, I don't... Because I know that Nedzo hopefully will be saying Behrman, because Behrman is also very impressive, so that's why I'm saying Alonso.
Yes, that is exactly what I'm going to do. I'm going to go for Charles, I'm going to go for Max, I'm going to go for Behrman.
There you go.
Flops of the weekend. Lando, Oscar, and McLaren. They're going to be my flops for every remaining weekend, by the way.
Regardless of what they do. They can finish 30 seconds.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to give it to Oscar because what happened there. I'm going to give it to... I'm going to give it to Stroll, sorry, but why did you make that move? I have no idea. And it's not their fault, but Pirelli, why would I don't know if Pirelli is a top or a flop, because yes, we nearly got a two-stopper, but no, we didn't, because again, if they slightly got the compounds, if the compounds were slightly better, we could have had a very nice two-stopper. In the end, everyone did a very crap, medium, soft bullshit that I don't know. what
Also,
they
track
did.
position and trying to get past cars when you can't really get past cars at COTA.
Exactly. They ended up with 30 laps on mediums, 20 laps on softs, which is stupid. It's not Formula One. It's just tire management, and it becomes stupid. If Ciaron was here, he would have wanted much more than us.
I will say my flops are definitely. I'm going to go with the exact same as Peter, like Lando, Oscar, and McLaren as a whole. Like, if neither McLaren driver wins his title, I genuinely think that you may as well just go to the MTC, go to Woking, and just shut the place down.
Quickly before we close, do you think Lando should have cleared Charles faster, or do you think Charles should have defended more and kept the P2? Because I don't think we actually discussed.
Lando should have definitely got past quicker, and Charles did good to keep him behind for that.
He shouldn't have taken him 21 laps to get past him.
But do you think that by the time it was lap 45, it was then Charles' duty to keep that P2, or do you think it was impossible?
It was eventually going to get by. It's a faster car, so and the
softs are going to wear out.
It's tires as well.
He could have just. I mean, obviously, he could have just waited until the pit stops because Leclerc was always going to pit sooner as well. But yeah, he wasn't going to catch Max. Although to be fair, in that final stint, they suddenly closed up. They halved Max's lead, which concerned me a bit.
Because Max didn't care.
Yeah, he already won. Yeah.
Yeah.
Not the most exciting race, but to be honest, if Max wants to win this title, he needs some rather not exciting ones that he can just control from the front. Only a week to go till Mexico. That'll be a fun one. As we said, a lot of new drivers do an FP1. One of Max's better circuits. No Sergio Perez. So they'll be going all out for Pato to make up for that. So let's just keep this ball rolling and see if Max can do it.
Are there 2 sprints remaining? 2?
Yes.
Sao Paulo and Qatar. Again, Max circuits that he's really good at. So
let's go.
Yeah, Sao Paulo is going to be a scorcher, I think, of a weekend, if it's anything like last year.
And before it's boring.
Yeah. Well, to be honest, I don't care if the races are boring, if Max can just cruise to victory in each of them and get it done. Too much drama and things can easily that drama can easily involve him. Yeah. Yeah, we'll see. You've been listening to the DRS Train Podcast. We're on YouTube and Spotify, and you can find us on Instagram and X at the DRS Train Podcast. If you become a channel member, you get access to behind-the-scenes footage and some extra content, and you can join our current members, Elizabeth Byrne, Bjerg Troshkun, Chris O'Dea, and Blue Guy. Make sure to tune in for our next episode. Stay safe, and we'll see you all next time.
Bye.